Hey, welcome back to another Rest, Eat, Move podcast. This is Matt, and we're in our new podcast studio. We have this new, I call it the Bat Cave, where we can blast out content. It's all about our podcasts and content and videos and audio. And so we're excited to share this, more to come, and we'll have the big guy in the hot seat next week for, I think, a really great topic. But I saw a graphic today that I thought I'd get on here and really talk about that I think is relevant, and it's about this dopamine culture. And I read Seth Godin's he sends a daily blog. Some of them are short, some are a little longer. Don't read all of them, but this one caught my attention, and I'm glad it did because he was sharing this idea around the journey versus just the goal. And it made me think, if all we had to do was pick the outcome that we wanted throughout life, is that the life we would choose? I don't think it would be. I think there's many times we dream and we wish and we hope and we maybe contemplate what could have happened, what should have happened. But I think the journey is the best part. And what Seth was talking about, he shared this graphic from a gentleman named Ted Goerier. And Ted had this graphic about the dopamine culture. And it was a continuum of the old, slower culture. Not saying that you did nothing. I'm not talking about the 1700s, 1800s, maybe like the 1980s, 1990s, before the iPhone. And then there's this continuum going to maybe a faster culture. And then today, in a state of 2024, this dopamine culture. So I want to share some of the things on this graphic. I thought it was really interesting. And so on the left side of this graphic are all these different sections or industries or categories: athletics, journalism, video, music, images, communication, relationships. And so on the left side is going to be your slow traditional culture. Think before iPhone. And then the fast modern culture. Think mid 2000s, 2010s. And then dopamine culture today. And so let's take athletics. You play a sport, that's the slow traditional culture. People still play sports, but that's the kind of the continuum. In the fast modern culture, you watch sport. So instead of just playing sport, you watch sport. In today's dopamine culture, you gamble on sport. And none of these in isolation are really the problem. The problem is how did it become that it is so common, so popular, so easy to gamble on any sport from anywhere? It's because of this chase for dopamine. Journalism, you went from newspapers to multimedia to clickbait. Think about all the ways that you get bombarded with all these things grabbing your attention. It's all about clickbait. It's all about grabbing your attention. It's all, how do you get you to pay attention, put your eyeballs on it? Videos went from film, TV, to video, to reels, shorts. Music went from albums to tracks. Now the most common way to listen to music is TikToks. You went from images where you would have to go to an art gallery or see it on the wall or a painting or a picture to let's view it on our phone. And let's scroll now on our phone. I think about all these photographers that take amazing photos. And at one point, you probably had to touch the photo. And then it went digital. And now all of these amazing creators, you can see so many photos, so many different beautiful landscapes and images just by scrolling on your phone. Communication, handwritten letters to voice, email, memo. And now it's a short text. Anyway, my point of doing this isn't to say any of those are bad. I do all those on a regular basis. In isolation, not a problem. Raising 3 kids is what really gets me to think about this. And especially for the parents and the adults and everyone listening, we got to understand we're under attack from this dopamine culture. We're constantly craving dopamine. That's why we scroll on our phone. That's why we want the likes and the clicks and see people to engage in our stuff. And I tell my kids all the time, being bored is really part of the process. Now, I don't say those words. They're between the ages of 7 and 4. But I constantly hear them saying, I'm so bored. This is the most boring thing ever. This is horrible. This worst day ever. It's so boring. And it's because of our culture. It's because of our iPhones, our hyper connection. We can get anything we want from anywhere. And to me, boredom is a critical part of our life. If we can enjoy those in between the notes stuff, the boredom that leads to focus, from focus that leads to happiness and fulfillment. If all we do is chase dopamine, I think we live a very unfulfilled, unhappy, unpeak potential life. We talk about, the ability to get anything we want, whether it's prescription drugs from our house. Again, that can be great, but now we don't even have to really leave the house. We could do telemedicine, to Amazon, getting things delivered today at the end of the day if we want. And it leads to anxiety, sleep issues, depression, dopamine deficit states, unhappiness. We're constantly looking for the cliff notes. How can AI do the work? Headline news. I don't read a book because I don't have time. And again, back to Seth Godin, I think he's an amazing mind. And he was talking about we're missing kind of the point. The journey is the most important part. It's the most fulfilling part. It's the work that we put in that we're the most fulfilled by. And as I played college golf, I think back to so many times that I'd want to shoot the lowest score, win the tournament. And in that moment, you would say, oh, if I could pay $100, $1,000, if I could check a box and say, I want to win this tournament today, I'll pay $1,000 if I can shoot 66 today. In that moment, maybe for a short bit of time, that would feel really good. You win a trophy, you get recognized. But I think back on my favorite golf rounds, and many of them had nothing to do with being the lowest score or winning the tournament. It was actually when I had to overcome difficulties or grind through a round, or I was proud of myself for staying in there. And I think that's really the true meaning of health, happiness, fulfillment, is the journey. Some difficultness, some celebration, some perseverance, some grit, some resilience. And so this hit me today. Dopamine culture. We're constantly searching for the next dopamine fix. And as you listen to this, if it resonated with you, I want you to take the next 10 minutes and just let it sink in. Digest it, absorb it. We have to allow ourselves to be bored. We have to sit with our thoughts. We got to give ourselves some space. And in this dopamine culture, there's no space. The job of many of these things that trigger our dopamine is to trigger it more and more and more, and faster and faster and faster. And easy, quick, effortless never leads to the outcome you truly want. We'll see you again next time.